His Last Bow, 1917, Episode 7. The War Service of Sherlock Holmes. Welcome back, fellow detectives. Throughout this series, you followed Holmes from the height of his powers through cases of international intrigue and moral complexity. Today, we reach the culmination, a case set on the eve of World War I, where an elderly Holmes emerges from retirement for one final mission. What could bring a legendary detective out of peaceful retirement? What threat could be so grave that even age cannot excuse inaction? Prepare for Holmes's Last Bow, a story of patriotism, long-term deception, and the changing of an era as Europe plunges into war. Picture a terrace overlooking the English Channel on August the 2nd, 1914. War has been declared. Germany's armies are mobilizing, and Britain stands on the brink of entering a conflict that will reshape the world. On this terrace stands von Bork, a German diplomat and master spy who has spent 4 years building an intelligence network in Britain, stealing military secrets that will give Germany crucial advantages. Von Bork is celebrating. Tomorrow, he departs for Germany with British naval codes, army positions, and strategic plans worth millions. He's outwitted British intelligence for years, recruited dozens of agents, obtained secrets that will cost thousands of British lives. He's confident, arrogant, completely unaware that his entire operation has been compromised. "Baron," his assistant says, "your American agent is here with the final package, the submarine signals you've been waiting for." Von Bork's eyes light up. "Excellent. This is the crown jewel, Britain's submarine communication protocols. With these, our U-boats will dominate the Atlantic." The American agent who enters is a rough-looking man of about 60, with weathered face and Irish-American accent. He calls himself Altamont, claims to be a bitter enemy of Britain due to Irish revolutionary sympathies, and has been von Bork's most valuable agent for 2 years. "Got your signals, Baron?" Altamont says. "Cost me plenty, but they're genuine." Think about this scene. On the surface, a spy completing his final mission, but something feels off about Altamont. His accent is perfect, credentials impeccable, information always accurate, perhaps too perfect. What kind of spy never makes mistakes? Von Bork examines the package eagerly, but before he can open it, Altamont suggests, "Baron, we should drink to our success. Let me pour you some wine." Von Bork, pleased and eager to celebrate, agrees without suspicion. As they drink, Altamont begins speaking differently, his Irish-American accent fading, replaced by cultured British tones. "You know, Baron, it's remarkable how easily you were deceived. 2 years I've been feeding you information, and you never suspected that every document was either useless or deliberately false. You've built your network on sand." Von Bork stares in confusion, his mind foggy. The wine was drugged. Who are you?" Altamont's posture straightens. "Allow me to introduce myself properly. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and you, Baron von Bork, are under arrest for espionage against the British Crown." Can you imagine von Bork's shock? The man he trusted completely is actually Britain's most famous detective, conducting the longest undercover operation of his career. Everything von Bork thought he knew was illusion. "Impossible," von Bork gasps as the drug takes effect. "Sherlock Holmes is retired. He lives in Sussex, keeping bees." Holmes's smile is cold. "Retired, yes, but never absent when Britain needs me. And what better cover for an undercover operation than public belief that Sherlock Holmes no longer involves himself in such matters?" As von Bork loses consciousness, a car pulls up, containing Dr. Watson, older now, grayer, but still Holmes's faithful companion. "Holmes!" Watson exclaims, seeing his friend in disguise. My God, you look completely different. I've known you 40 years and I'd never recognize you. Holmes chuckles. Good makeup, proper acting, and a carefully constructed identity. Altamont has existed for 2 years as a real person with verifiable history. Von Bork never suspected because I made sure he couldn't. Watson helps Holmes restrain von Bork. How long have you been working this case? Holmes's answer reveals the extraordinary scope. The government approached me in 1912, 2 years before war seemed imminent. British intelligence suspected Germany was building a spy network, but couldn't penetrate it. They needed someone who could disappear completely, become someone else entirely, spend years earning trust. I was the logical choice, Holmes continues. I'd already retired, so my disappearance wouldn't raise questions. I created the Altamont identity, an Irish-American with revolutionary sympathies willing to betray British secrets for money and revenge. It took 6 months to establish his background. Think about the preparation. Holmes didn't just adopt a disguise for hours or days. He lived as Altamont continuously for 2 years, maintaining the accent, mannerisms, personality without ever breaking character. The dedication and discipline required is staggering. I made contact with von Bork's organization through intermediaries, Holmes explains. Started small, sold them minor information that was accurate but useless, building credibility, gradually worked up to bigger secrets, each carefully approved by British intelligence. Von Bork came to trust me completely because I never made mistakes. Watson is awed. You spent 2 years living a lie, pretending to betray Britain. How did you maintain your sanity? Holmes's answer reveals something profound. I'm an actor at heart. Every case has required performing roles. This was simply the longest performance, and the stakes justified any personal sacrifice. But there's more, Holmes admits. Von Bork thought he was running a network of British traitors. In reality, every single agent he recruited was either a double agent or a fabrication I created. The naval officer selling fleet positions, an actor I hired, the government clerk providing cables, a retired forger. Von Bork's entire network was theater. Can you appreciate the elegant beauty? Von Bork thought he'd built a masterpiece of espionage, when actually he'd been led through an elaborate charade where every piece of intelligence was disinformation. His greatest triumph was his complete defeat. As they drive von Bork to authorities, Watson asks about the package contents. Holmes smiles. Open it. Watson unwraps it to find not naval codes, but a beekeeping handbook. Inside the cover, Holmes has written, "To Baron von Bork, with compliments of Mr. Sherlock Holmes, a memento of our time together. Altamont, the symbolism is perfect. Von Bork paid a fortune for secrets that would help Germany win the war at sea and received instead a book about bees, harmless, pastoral, the antithesis of military intelligence." Watson asks the troubling question, Holmes, you've spent 2 years preventing German spies from obtaining real secrets, but war came anyway. Did your mission really matter? Holmes's response is thoughtful. I prevented Germany from knowing Britain's actual naval deployment, submarine protocols, strategic plans. That ignorance will cost them dearly. More importantly, we've rolled up their entire spy network. Germany will enter this war blind. Think about the nature of this victory. It's not dramatic, not publicly acknowledged, not celebrated in newspapers. Holmes will receive no medals, no recognition. The operation will remain classified for decades, but he's dealt Germany a significant blow. As they drive through darkening countryside, Watson reflects, do you remember the beginning? The study in Scarlet? When we first met, you were young, energetic, unknown. Now look at us, old men watching the world change in ways we never imagined. Holmes gazes out at the landscape. We do belong to a different era. The world of our youth, Victorian certainties, empire at its height. That world is ending. This war will destroy it completely. What emerges will be something new, something we may not recognize. But, Holmes adds with quiet pride, we served that old world faithfully. We fought its criminals, protected its innocent, upheld its justice. If our era is ending, at least we can say we did our duty to the last. This case is my last bow to a Britain about to change forever. Can you feel the bittersweetness? Holmes has won his final victory, but it's a victory that ushers in a new age where his methods, his certainties, perhaps even his relevance, may be questioned. They deliver von Bork to British intelligence headquarters. His fate is sealed, his network destroyed, his years of work revealed as elaborate failure. Intelligence officers congratulate Holmes, but he accepts their praise with weary grace. Mr. Holmes, the intelligence chief says, the nation owes you a debt that can never be repaid. Will you consider continuing intelligence work? But Holmes declines. I'm an old man now, better suited to retirement than active operations. I've done my part. It's time for others to carry on. Watson drives Holmes back to his Sussex cottage where his bees wait and peaceful retirement beckons. Along the way, they discuss the case and contemplate an uncertain future. Will we see each other more regularly now? Watson asks hopefully. Of course, Holmes assures him. I've missed our companionship. These 2 years as Altamont were successful, but lonely. I couldn't risk contacting you, couldn't be myself, even for a moment. It will be good to simply be Sherlock Holmes again. There's something deeply moving about this exchange. Two old friends acknowledging their shared history, their enduring bond, their gratitude for each other's continued presence. They've faced dangers together, solved impossible cases, witnessed tragedy and triumph. Now, simple friendship is enough. As they reach Holmes's cottage, Watson notices how the detective sheds the Altamont persona like a heavy coat. His posture relaxes, his face softens, the coarse roughness fading to reveal the refined intellectual beneath. How does it feel? Watson asks. To be yourself again? Holmes considers like waking from a long, uncomfortable dream. Altamont was necessary and I played him well, but he was never me. He was a construction, a tool. Being able to discard him and return to my true self is liberating, though I confess part of me will miss the challenge. So tell me, detective, what motivated Holmes to accept this mission? Was it patriotism, the intellectual challenge, or knowledge that he was uniquely qualified and refusing would mean allowing Germany to gain advantages that could cost countless lives? Probably all three woven together. The case concludes with Holmes settling back into retirement, his contribution complete. Von Bork's network's destruction gives Britain significant intelligence advantage. German submarines are sent into traps based on false information. Strategic plans built on his intelligence fail catastrophically. Von Bork spends the war imprisoned, wrestling with humiliation. After the war, he returns to Germany in disgrace, his reputation destroyed. He becomes a cautionary tale in intelligence circles. Watson publishes this story after the war ends, waiting until 1917 to ensure nothing compromises ongoing operations. It becomes one of his most popular accounts, showing Holmes in his final active case, still brilliant at age 60, still capable of outwitting the best minds Germany can deploy. But the story raises profound questions. Holmes succeeded brilliantly, but what happens to great men when their era ends, can Victorian detectives remain effective in a modern world of industrialized warfare? Holmes solved von Bork, but could he solve the problems of the 20th century? In his Sussex cottage, Holmes contemplates these questions while tending his bees. He reads newspapers about the war's progress, sees how modern conflict dwarfs the individual crimes he spent his career solving. Watson, Holmes writes in a letter, I sometimes wonder if our work mattered. We saved individuals, caught criminals, brought justice to specific cases, but the great forces of history move forward regardless. Should we have aimed higher? Watson's response is characteristic. We did what we could with the gifts we possessed. You solved crimes brilliantly, saved innocent lives, punished guilty ones. That's not small. It's everything to the people whose lives you touched. Let historians judge great forces. We dealt with humans, individuals, real people. That work was worthy. The final scene shows Holmes and Watson on the Sussex cottage terrace on a summer evening in 1914, watching the sun set over the Channel. Somewhere across that water, armies are massing, but here, two old friends share wine and memories. We had a good run, didn't we? Holmes asks. 40 years of adventures, hundreds of cases, countless criminals brought to justice. I regret nothing. Watson raises his glass to our adventures, to the study in Scarlet and the final problem, to the Hound and the Valley of Fear, to every case we faced together, and to the friendship that endured through all of them. To friendship, Holmes agrees. The one mystery I never had to solve because I was fortunate enough to find it ready-made in you, dear friend. Whatever else I achieved, having your companionship made the journey worthwhile. And there on that terrace, as the old world dies and the new struggles to be born, Sherlock Holmes takes his last bow, not in dramatic confrontation or impossible deduction, but in quiet friendship and peaceful retirement. It's not the ending anyone predicted, but perhaps it's the ending he deserved. A chance to rest after a lifetime of service, secure in the knowledge that when Britain needed him one last time, he answered the call. So we've reached the end of our journey together. From Holmes's first meeting with Watson, through decades of cases, through triumphs and failures, through the heights of his powers and the peace of his retirement, you've witnessed the complete career of the world's greatest consulting detective. Holmes teaches us that observation matters, that details reveal truth, that logic can illuminate darkness, but he also teaches about friendship's importance, the danger of pride, the necessity of learning from mistakes. He shows us that brilliance without humanity is cold, but humanity tempered by reason can achieve justice. As you go forward, remember Holmes's example. Observe carefully, think clearly, act decisively, and never forget that behind every mystery are human beings whose lives hang in the balance. The game is afoot, not just for him, but for all of us who choose to pursue truth and justice. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Sherlock Holmes's chronicles. May your own adventures be as thrilling, your own friendships as enduring, and your own observations as keen as those of the master detective himself. The curtain falls, the last bow is taken, but the legend endures forever. Note, his last bow was written by Conan Doyle in 1917 as Britain fought World War I. It was his farewell to Holmes and tribute to Britain's war effort. The story captures the end of the Victorian era and beginning of modernity, with Holmes symbolizing old certainties giving way to new uncertainties. It remains one of the most poignant tales in the entire canon,